welcome to our project. Our feature question is, what is the most efficient treatment for amyotrophic lateral sclerosis to improve the quality of life between Riluzole of Edaravone? Our integrants are Sandoval Quiroga, Piñeros Avila, and me, Belén Aragón. For a start, we're talking about the abstract. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis is the degenerative disease that affects motor neurons, characterized as a muscular weakness that grows over the years, causing muscular atrophy to the patient. Among the safest drugs to treat this pathology are Riluzole and Edaravone that try to block the degeneration by means of neurodegenerative. In this article, these are two drugs are tested in which the main focus to corroborate with these drugs really improve the quality life of patient in amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. A systemic search of randomized are controlled trial in LA's patient was carried in the database of BBS, TRIP database, PubMed, Cochrane, and series of filters were performed to discard the articles that didn't help us to give a conclusion answer to main the question. You can see the keywords over here and the PICO answer. Um, as long as possible to identify between Edaravone and Riluzole which one interferes in four types of mutation they address. An experiment treatment which could be created between the two sides. They should well reliable, similar efficacy, and complete with age other very well, and neither Edaravone nor Riluzole are effective in very advanced degrees for the disease, but they did show overall 9% absolute increase in the probability of survival for 1 year. 57% in the placebo group and 66% in the Riluzole group. In conclusion, there is insufficient evidence to ensure that either drug improves the patient's quality life between theoretical prevents vulval and respiratory muscular paralysis. Delivered as long as possible respiratory failure and ultimate death. Key messages. For the articles that was 5, efficacy and safety of Edaravone in the treatment of amyotrophic lateral sclerosis systematic review and meta-analysis. For this are considerable difference in LAS functional rate scale was found between groups of at 24 weeks. The results suggest that the Edaravone may delay the progression of functional disorders in patients with early stage ill. Grades 1 to 3. For the Riluzole amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, the treatment with Riluzole is quite expensive, is safe and prolonged survival at 6, 9, and 12 months. Okay. There was no data of quality of life, but patient treatment with Riluzole remained in a more moderate state of health than patient treatment with placebo. For the renal function in patient of LAS, a decrease in this was found in 4 of 11 LA patients, but all 4 patients did not develop acute renal failure of any clinical manifestation of renal dysfunction. For disease modified, the Riluzole remains the only drug that directly modifies the disease. And for the mutant profiling 1, the Riluzole and Edaravone interact with mutant PFN1, where restoration of the structure stability may take due the interaction of these drugs. The LIS patient can initiate treatment with either of these two drugs that may attenuate disease progression. Okay, for the methods. In February to June 2022, a systemic search randomized placebo-controlled clinical trials in these databases that we are mentioned. The total scores are 35 and the select records are 5. For the protocols, inclusion criteria, exclusion criteria, keywords, and operators are these that you can see. Okay, the next is in addition. 5 filters were evaluated of 35 total records, which we took into account. First, the title, what is interesting or useful. Second, authors, good track record. Third, abstract, useful resource. Fourth, do the results of these practicals apply? Five, was the allocation of patients to treatments really randomized? And the next one was the score in Ecuador, the concert list, um, la external validity, grade recommendations. With these filters, 30 articles are passed. Finally, to evaluate the quality information by means the Equator list, the consort list was used to filter the articles, of which only 10 passed. Stipulate with the score of 90% is good in the work team, and successfully we apply the grids of recommendation and level of evidence with the grade, which finally left us with the 5 review articles used in this work.
Okay, in the fall chart, we can see that we start with 35 articles for the database, and towards the filters we eliminate 30 to finally end with what with 5 recommendation or outcomes. Riluzole in Europe today, it is still the only drug approved for the treatment of ALS. It has a high cost. Edaravone approved in US considers difference in ALF is score between groups 24 weeks.
Okay. And levels of evidences and grades of recommendation. Um, they levels of evidence and direct of a recommendation were made who said that school recommended by the university, which is the great group where the strong level is the hunted item, and they were unleavened is the lowest item. As we can see of the uh, article, 1,000 on like 5% day internal and external validate filters. It is worth note that they acted with the patients is correct on the graded escalate what effective and safety of the Edaravone in the treatment of the amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. Systemic Rubik and meta-analysis with a stroke scored on the graded scale. Conclusions, the pick question was a no and were it but an alternative of the treatment of um, ALS. A patient was given with feedback from in day 5, selected Antarctic. Riluzole and Edaravone are made no war, and they are alternative make on directed importance and question of the life but was reduced their sound of stones decent protection to some extent.